how are the celebrities going to spot the traitors?
I want to be a traitor.
How are they going to figure out who they are? Let me show you a couple of deception tools that you can look out for over these coming weeks. Eye blocking. This is where when people are being deceptive, they look to block contact with their eyes. Jonathan Ross has already exhibited this when some of the traitors are being discussed. When everybody else was looking around, once the traitors had been allocated, looking around to who might it be, he temporarily looked down. And in looking down, your eyelids cover your eyes. Truth slips. This is where the body language contradicts what's coming out of the mouth. Richard Nixon, the US president, famously said live on television, people need to know whether or not their president's a crook. Well, I'm not a crook. I earned every cent of that money. So that's a truth slip. That's where the body language contradicts what's coming out of the mouth. And that's the body telling the truth whilst the mouth lies. So watch out for that one. What else can we do? Facial touching, self-comfort gestures. Interestingly, Alan Carr exhibited these when feeling that strain about Paloma and how he had put her in that coffin. And he was touching his head and had his hand in his mouth when that was being discussed. So watch out for facial touching with self-comfort gestures, touching the head, touching the face, putting their hands in the mouth, that kind of more nervous behavior. Alan Carr's already exhibited some of those. But my favorite deception tell is one known as duping delight. And that's when somebody has successfully deceived somebody and they experience that sense of relief or maybe even joy that they've done it. That devious may well come into play. They can just little half smile. So when you communicate, they communicate a lie and you communicate to them that perhaps you are believing it, they may well just have a little smile, little half smile. Sometimes both corners of the mouth, or sometimes just one. Just a little tiny little, what we call a micro expression of happiness, of relief, or joy. Now, over the coming weeks, when the traitors who are successfully flying under the radar at the moment are more directly confronted, if they succeed in being able to convince one of the faithful that they are in fact telling the truth, duping delight may well be something that could be real use. My final clue we call forced eye contact. Now we all know the old trick that people, I mentioned it earlier, that people try to avoid eye contact when they're lying. But really good liars know that. They understand that. They've thought about it and they go, now, I want to make sure that I don't block eyes or I don't look away. So they'll make eye contact, but they'll make much more eye contact than they normally will. So forced eye contact, they're doing it too much, and that in itself can become really telling to people trying to read deception. My final trick, which is something that actually Kate Garraway did in episode 1. She was looking for what we call variance from baseline. So she was asking Kat a number of questions like, are you wearing a check jacket? Kat goes, well, yes, I am. And then she goes, are you a traitor? So she was trying to establish what a cat looked like. How did she sound? How did she behave? What was her body language like when she's being truthful? Then asked her whether she was a traitor and to see if she could see any change, any variance from baseline. That is a fantastic deception tool. Watch out for those key tools coming over the coming weeks on this quest that the faithful are on to try and figure out who are the traitors.